because we know that there are legions of folks out there who are very clever and tireless in trying to figure out new and better ways to separate you from your money rather than working for an honest living. So that's what we're going to hear about today. Jessica Lemann is our guest today. She's the Senior Associate State Director of Outreach and Advocacy for AARP in Texas, based in Austin. Jessica was educated at LSU, where she received a degree in communications and media in, I think, 2003.
Yeah.
And she began working with AARP in Louisiana, moved to Austin in 2010. And like a lot of folks in Texas, she wasn't born here, but she got here, did the best she could, got here as fast as she could. So Jessica has an excellent background to talk to us today, and she's going to tell us about fraud basics, how to protect them, how to understand what's out there, who's trying to separate you from your dough, and what you can do about it to stay safe. So Jessica, all yours.
Thank you, Henry. That was a perfect introduction to AARP. I really appreciate that. As Henry said, I'm Jessica Lemann, and I'm with our tech office based here in Austin. And we do advocate at the federal, state, and even local level on issues that impact older adults. And our hope is that they can age in place in their home and community, as many want to do. And so part of that is around financial security. And a big threat to the financial security of everyone is fraud and scams. We are bombarded constantly. We gave this presentation yesterday, and during the presentation, I got a text saying that I had a package that couldn't be delivered, and if I clicked this link and provided my information, I would get my package. It is constant, all the time. And so we just want to build awareness about what is being thrown at you at all times. And so you can spot it and identify it early on so you don't become a victim of this. You can go to the start of it. And go to the next slide. So a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. We'll start off with the fraud trends. So what is out there and what that looks like. I'm also going to talk a little bit about changing the narrative and how we talk about fraud. Often we feel like, gosh, I can't believe I fell for that, or I can't believe they fell for that. And if someone stole your purse, you would never say, I can't believe you fell for that. And it's the same type of crime. So AARP really wants to change how we talk about it, because that also prevents people from reporting it, and because they're embarrassed. And if we don't report it, nothing is ever going to be done about it. Prevention, and then resources. You know, it's gonna happen to the best of us. We, AARP, consistently send out phishing emails just to test to make sure that we're not clicking on things through our work computer that we're not supposed to. And I had a perfect record, and they sent one the other day, and it looked so real, and it was work related, and I clicked, and I immediately got that you had failed. And I was like, oh, my perfect record is broken. So they're really good, and it can happen to anybody. So when it does, where are resources and where can you turn to find support and hopefully get some of your money back? All right, next slide. So just I think I'm fairly certain on what the response is going to be, but how many of you raise your hand, and you can raise your hand on Zoom and in the audience, think you've been approached by a scam or a fraudulent offer? Right, everybody. And then how many, raise your hand if you know someone who's actually fallen victim to one of these scams. See, so as you all know, this is incredibly prevalent. You can change that slide. So now we're going to talk about the impact of fraud on older adults. Go more. So kind of more broadly, there are two definitions, and we're really talking about both of these today, but there's fraud, and then there's elder financial exploitation, which we also see. So elder financial exploitation usually happens by a guardian or a family member or someone you trust, and they're taking advantage used for monetary or personal benefit, profit, or gain. So they're convincing someone who maybe had experiencing cognitive decline to turn over their deed to them, or turn over giving them access to their checking account. So that's really elder financial exploitation. What we're talking about more today is fraud, which is the intent to deceive for monetary gain. So this is, you know, we call it stranger danger, but it's those texts, those emails, those phone calls, maybe someone coming to your door that you don't know, trying to convince you to give them their money. Next slide. So again, some more examples of elder, or back on, I know, a little bit the same. Elder financial exploitation, so that could be embezzlement, falsifying records, I mentioned coerced property transfers. In fraud, we're really talking about those imposter scams, romance scams, which I always, when I'm talking to older adults, they're like, no, that it really is very, very prevalent, especially with folks who are living alone, who are isolated. And then the lottery scams, and then identity fraud. Next slide. So I want to be clear too, this isn't just something that happens to older adults. In fact, young people experience more fraud than older adults, probably because they're online more. But when it does happen to an older adult, they lose a significantly larger amounts of money. So 43, for folks aged 20 to 29, 43% have reported experiencing fraud. Folks aged, and again, this is reported. It happens so much more that we don't have statistics on. 23% at age 70 to 79 have experienced fraud. But if you look at the amount, young folks, we're looking at 548. Let me see. Yes, that is millions. Of 70 to 79, a billion, and then 80 plus $1.674 billion have been lost. So this is huge amounts of money, and we see that it's really impacting the financial security of older adults significantly more. All right, next slide. So again, because of lack of reporting, we don't even know how big the scourge is. So if we look at these statistics, the FTC collects consumer reports on fraud, and they pinned total losses about $8.8 billion in 2022. So if you look at the graph on the right, it shows an increase of nearly $3 billion in 1 year, from 2021 to 2022. And the FBI reports online fraud, and they saw losses of $10.3 billion in 2022 just in cybercrime. So AARP has co-sponsored a survey of identity fraud with Javelin Strategy and Research to really try to look at our membership and see what the impact of this is. In our 2022 survey, it covered $43 billion in identity fraud. So it is, and that's, you know, and that might be folks who are willing to respond to our survey that didn't report it to law enforcement. So huge amounts of money. Next slide. So now, and you can keep going for more, we'll talk about the top scams that we're seeing. Imposter scams is probably the biggest scam that we see, and that is folks identifying themselves as someone who they're. So they are claiming to be from the Social Security Administration, the IRS, Medicare, the FTC, the Postal Service, or business, Amazon, your utility company, FedEx or UPS, Norton or Microsoft. Next slide. So a lot of these, the way that they are successful, particularly when it comes to the government imposter scams, is that they involve threats. So your Social Security number has been suspended, or you owe taxes and you will face immediate arrest if you don't pay. You have a virus on your computer, so download this software right now. They're trying to use fear and intimidation to get you into an emotional state where you're not really thinking logically, because you're like, oh my gosh, I owe taxes. I don't want to get arrested. And so you make a decision in that heightened emotional state. And especially if you are a person who does pay your taxes and you want to be right with the government and you want to do all the things that you're supposed to do, and the thought of not doing that makes you stressed. And again, with businesses, and we've seen this, I have a volunteer that does this presentation with the utility company. Someone came to her aunt that lived in South Texas. Someone came to her door. They're like, we're the utility company. You haven't paid your bill. We're going to shut your electricity off. And she was going to go to the bank and get cash out to give this person. It's July, it's South Texas. She can't live without her utilities. And her daughter happened to live next door. And so she went over there and like, hey, you need to drive me to the bank. And her daughter was like, Mom, I pay your bills. You are fine. That person is literally on your doorstep trying to take money from you. So it happens quite a lot with fear and intimidation. And then also, when this happens, contact the entity at a trusted phone number. So if someone calls and says they're the IRS and you owe taxes, hang up, look up the number, and your phone may even say IRS. They can mirror phone numbers, and so it may even come up. So don't trust that your phone, that the identity that comes up on your phone, it may say Amazon, it may say the IRS, it may say Social Security. Hang up, go find the number, and then call them directly. Especially, you know, even if it sounds legitimate, hang up and call them back. One, they're not going to reach out to you direct in that manner. The IRS, Social Security, they're not going to call you. But regardless, if you think it may be legitimate, hang up the phone, call back at a trusted number, and then you can find out. So if it's whether that's a utility company, whether it's a government agency, whether it's a business, make sure you're reaching out to them and you're in control and you know who you're calling. Never make payments or share sensitive info in response to an email, a text, a phone call, ever. All right, next slide, please. And so here's a video. Let's see if it plays. If not, I can talk through it. I don't know. Yeah.
Amazon imposters are bombarding consumers with millions of robocalls, texts, and emails hoping to steal their money. Here is what to watch out for. You haven't placed an order, but you get an email or text that looks like it's from Amazon saying your order has been confirmed. You're then directed to click a link or call a number if the information is incorrect. Don't take the bait. You're notified about suspicious charges on your account and steps you need to take to address the issue. But taking these steps always spells wrong, so it's best not to engage or respond. You get a call or text saying a private account has been taken out in your name. You're requested to call a number to straighten things out, but that number goes to a scammer who's out to steal your money as well as your personal information. If you think you have an issue, contact Amazon directly. For more tips, go to AARP.org/Fraud Watch Network.
So again, in that example, it was Amazon, but it could be any business. It could be UPS. You have a package that they couldn't deliver. It could be the post office. It could be any place. It could be Macy's or anywhere you shop. That we see it a lot with Amazon. But you know, really, like if you don't remember placing an order, if you don't have an account, then you're not gonna. It's not gonna impact you. But I know I do have an Amazon account, and I order a lot from Amazon. And those emails look just like the ones that you get. And so you have to be really careful. A good way to check when it comes to fraudulent emails is look at who it's from, because it's not going to be jlemann@amazon.org. It's going to be a Gmail address or a Hotmail address or something like that, which would never, a business would never have send an email from one of those types of
I think it's important to point out, just look at the address. You can't tell. You need to click on it or hover over it to actually get the address to come up. It may take 2 clicks to even get the right address to come up, and then you'll see the real address it's coming from.
And it can be, sometimes it's just numbers, it's gibberish, or it's that end piece of it isn't, you can tell it's not legitimate. There's also a lot of times there's errors in the email, there's misspellings, the logo looks a little off. But some of them are very good. So yeah, hover over or click the prompt and see, and that'll tell you immediately, pretty usually that it it is a scam. All right, next. Another one we see a lot are sweepstakes and lottery scams. We used to have a video, and it just broke my heart every time we showed it. And it was a woman from Richardson, Texas, and she had fallen victim and gave $30,000 to someone claiming she had won the lottery, and all she had to do was pay the taxes on the lottery, and she would get her money. This was not that it is any better when it happens to a wealthy person, but $30,000 was all they had, and it just devastated them financially, and it devastated her relationships. You know, her husband, you hear her husband is like, I don't trust my wife anymore. I mean, it was so heartbreaking. But she thought, gosh, I won this lottery and we're gonna be set for life and we don't have to worry about anything anymore. And she had that emotional response, and that kind of logic brain turned off and the emotional brain turned on, and the thought of not having to worry about their finances anymore took over and cost them everything. And so these happen quite a lot. You can see here some news stories, one in South Louisiana, in New Britain. They come via email, they come over the phone, they come via text. You won the lottery, you just need to pay this fee. If you didn't play the lottery, you didn't win the lottery. And I know that sounds really simple, but it is true. Some people think, well, I was on Facebook, maybe I played when I clicked this link and that was signing me up, but you would know. And so just, really think about it. If it's too good to be true, then it probably
Anything
is.
from Nigeria.
Yeah, anything, if there's a prince, a Nigerian prince,
a banker.
It's not good. Don't do it. All right, next slide. And so what this looks like, a little bit more on sweepstakes, is it would be a request to pay fee, taxes, or custom duties before you can collect a prize. So these are some red flags. Winning a sweepstakes you've never heard of, being asked to buy gift cards and share the numbers before being given a prize. And we'll go into more detail about gift cards. But anytime a gift card is involved in how you pay for something, that is a huge red flag. And of course, all of the above. I think that was just to do a little question, but anyway, it's all of those. All right. So now online roaming scams. And so it's very common to seek out connections. Lots of people meet friends and potential love interests through dating sites or social media or mobile apps. So always be wary of strangers, even if you're not exploring a romantic interest. They can lurk anywhere. So you see up here, there's Words with Friends or Scrabble online. I have my younger son plays Roblox, and I have the chat feature turned off because I don't want some stranger on the internet being able to communicate with my child. The same goes for older adults. So I took Words with Friends off my phone because I was spending too much time on it, and I was like, this is just a time suck that I don't need. But I love puzzles and I love things like that. And so people can communicate. If you don't have that chat feature turned off, folks can communicate with you through these games. So you might say, I'm not on Match.com. This isn't going to happen to me. But there are a lot of ways where folks on the internet can get in touch with you, or via social media. I don't know if y'all are, go ahead.
I have a good friend who's a retired Coca-Cola executive, and his wife died. And about 2 years later, he met a new person, and within about a year, they were married for 2 years, and then he found out that it was a scam. I mean, that's expensive. And so, and I met her. I mean, she was very impressive, but she was after the money.
Yeah. So, and this was an executive. So this really can happen to anybody. So yeah, just be whatever app, even if you're not on Match or Tinder or whatever the kids use these days, there are other ways. But there's a Facebook page from Sun Radio, which is a local radio station here, plays a lot of Americana music. And they always post questions like, what are your favorite? And there's a musician called Jason Isbell, and I really like his music. And they're like, what are your favorite Jason Isbell songs? And people comment And it popped up the other day, an account that's claiming to be Jason Isbell responded to my comment and was like, "Oh, I'm so glad you love my songs. Here, private message me and we had a call." No, and I tried to report it and through Facebook, this is, you know, because someone might actually believe that that artist is trying to communicate with them. And so there are lots of ways where things like that can happen, even if you're not on like a dating site. So again, red flags for these scams is if they're like, if you're talking through a dating site or through a game and they're like, "Hey, call me. Let's take our conversation off of this app and over the phone." If they, you know, if they profess their love for you very early on, there's a good chance that is a red flag and a good chance that it's not real. As awesome as you may be as a person, but they can never meet you in person, or if there's any request for money for someone. And in your friend's case, they did meet in person, and it was still a scam. So you just have to be very, very cautious. Yes.
Wouldn't you say it on the first meeting, it ought to be in a public place, not private?
Yes, and so eventually, if you are on a dating site and looking for a relationship, you do want to meet in person at some point. If you actually want a relationship, it should absolutely, as you said, be in a public place, surrounded by lots of people. And that's true if you're buying something off of Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or anything like that, that could very well be legitimate. You still, for your own personal safety, you want to meet in a public place or have someone with you when those kind of meetings do take place. All right, next. All right, now another video.
Meeting a romantic partner online can be great, but it takes an extra dose of skepticism to stay safe from scammers. Here are some warning signs that a romance scam is underway and the person you are talking to wants more than your love. You meet someone online and after just a few interactions, they have strong feelings for you. Proceed with caution, especially if they want to take you off the site where you met and chat only by text or another platform. Here's another red flag. Once they gain your trust, which may take months or even years, they might share a hard luck story and ask you to send money or perhaps a gift card to help pay them. Don't send any money or buy gift cards with the request. If you do, they will keep asking for more. Con artists have latched onto gift cards as a convenient form of payment, and they're scams because they are virtually impossible to trace. For more tips on how to spot romance scams, go to AARP.org/Fraud Watch Network.
Next slide, please.
Meeting a romantic partner.
Okay. So now we're going to talk about identity theft and identity fraud. So fraud is when your identity has been is when your identity has been compromised, and then fraud is when they've actually stolen it and used it. So this is a really big one that we see a lot. Identity theft, again, occurs when someone has obtained your personal information, like your social security number, your address, your birth date, your bank account info, and then they used it to commit fraud for some sort of illicit purpose. So it could mean that they have your social security number and they've taken out a credit card in your name that they're using, or a mortgage, or some sort of payment. Maybe they're taking out social security in your name, or they're taking out unemployment benefit in your name, which happened to her husband got a call from the unemployment agency wanting to verify some information, and someone was using his information to try and collect unemployment. So that's what that looks like, or they're pretending to be you in some fashion. So some things that you can do to help stop this is, and protect yourself from this happening, is one is freeze your credit. And so this doesn't mean that you can't use your credit card, but it means that no one can open new credit cards in your name. And so, so you can do that. And then if you do say want to buy a home or get a new credit card, you can call and unfreeze it so you can do that and then freeze it again. But if
you can't call, you have to do it all online.
Thank you.
It's the 3 credit bureaus. If you need help, I can help people freeze their accounts. But until you you need to open a new account or borrow money, they can stay frozen. Then you can unfreeze it for a short period, a day or whatever. And they can get the credit report and it goes back to being frozen automatically.
But you have to do it for each of the.
Yeah, there's three credit reports.
Yeah,
Experian,
TransUnion. Yeah.
Experian, Equifax, those are the three. Experian is the one that's used the most for pulling credit reports. That's the one I usually unfreeze first before I even try, and it's unfrozen then. But otherwise, they'll stay frozen.
So you have a great resource with you that can help you with that, but, and their information is in the handout. So for folks, in the room, we have a handout. If you're online, that AARP.org/Fraud Watch Network that we've shown on the videos can direct you to all of these resources as well. You'll be able to find that here. But yeah, keep it frozen if you can.
I have a question about the last two on the left. I don't understand what they mean.
So yeah, so after create your credit report, we have use unique passwords. That's really tough for me. I can only fit so much information in my head. I did download a Norton password manager to help me. I'm not a spokesperson for them. Someone in here may have better ideas.
All the password managers have been hacked.
Really?
Yeah. So, you know.
I just keep mine on an Excel spreadsheet. When I travel, I take it with me and I put it in the hotel room safe.
I keep mine in a password protected PDF file.
Okay.
And I have 10 pages of passwords.
Wow.
So none of y'all steal me and steal my phone. I do have a notepad in my phone where I keep some passwords, and it's locked. I don't know how helpful that is. And if someone kills me, they can just hold the phone above my face and probably get into everything. But
I have a technique for making passwords. Typically at the end of the password, I put the date of when I did that password. That way I know how old the password is also. Yeah. So the password today would have 8 or 10 characters and then 06, 19, 24. And that way I know how old it is. So I can change them periodically that way too. But I'll know if it's really old. And there's an infinite number of combinations there for a number of days in the year, every year. So it makes it very unique.
That's really a great idea.
I know they've been hacked, but so far we're good with it. LastPass put our passwords in, and it was a daunting task. And a lady from Age, and she has a website of her own, Mama Nerd.
Okay.
And she came to our house and helped us set it all up on all our devices. She was very, very helpful.
That's wonderful. So Mama Nerd is the name of the website. And then you mentioned another.
What we use is LastPass.
LastPass.
But they have been hacked.
But ours.
So far, we're
free.
We did hers.
Very good. So some good resources.
Did we answer Lynn's?
Yeah, so I'm getting to that.
Right.
So after unique passwords, set up online access. So this is being able to access your bank accounts online, having online access. And it might seem counterintuitive to be accessing your bank online when there's so much online fraud, but it gives you the opportunity to constantly monitor your accounts for charges that you don't want to wait until your statement comes in the mail a month later to see that you've had a fraud.
So in other words, monitor your account.
Monitor your accounts, and online is the fastest way to do that.
Any account that you can set up what's called two-factor authentication, where I know it's a pain, but it sends you a code on your phone that you then have to enter. Yeah. That way, if someone gets your login information, it's going to send you a code and you say, I didn't do that. And they're not going to have the code, so they won't be able to get in. So two-factor authentication is important.
Yeah.
Two things, one related to that, I agree with it, except if Libby and I are not together, whose phone number is being sent? If I'm trying to get into an account that is set up with her phone number, I can't get into it. And the reverse is true. So that's what cumbersome. Although we still do that a lot. We just be careful what accounts. The other thing is, one of the recommendations was if you're being contacted, call direct. Calling is so difficult. if you got online access and you get something that looks over, you could I'll just go directly into my Amazon account.
But don't click the links. Yeah, get out of that. Go to Amazon and you can see. And if you've ever tried to call customer service at Amazon, it is impossible.
Oh, there's a white number, it's very easy, and I have that number.
Oh, you do? I
have a list of valid customer support numbers at about 100 different places.
That is amazing.
It's available for I can give that to you and you can make it available.
We'll send out after.
I get it right through Amazon.
We'll send out information from both you and Ray.
And then the last one, keep systems updated. What that's referring to is on your phone, whether you have an Apple or Android, you'll get notifications that you need to update your phone. And it might be a pain because that means you got to re-enter all your passwords. But usually when there's a system update, it is a security update. They're doing something to make your phone safer. And so when you get those, you need to update your phone. And it's always going to happen at the most inconvenient moment, but you should update them right away because to make sure you're getting the most up-to-date bug fixes and security on your phone. And
iOS 18 is coming out for Apple this fall. And if you have a iPhone 8 or older, it will not be able to update. And on Windows 10 support ends in October 2025. So there'll be no more updates, security updates otherwise after October 2025. So either.
So then we'll have to go to.
Well, you don't have to, but you need security updates.
But you will not, yeah, your phone will be
so you have to go to Windows 11 and most my PCs are not compatible with Windows 11.
90% of the time I wish I had a flip phone. Anyway, sometimes I feel like it's more trouble than it's worth, but yeah, so you want a phone that will ideally, you want a phone that can take the updates. Otherwise, if it's that old, it isn't going to be the most secure. But that means maybe you don't do your banking on that phone. Maybe you just use it as a phone.
That's that app. I keep trying to delete. There's a picture of a phone. I've never used it.
I have the ultimate phone security system. I don't own one.
We were really good. I have my youngest is 14 and he just got a phone and we put it off for as long as possible, but it was some after school coordination that at some point the school was not helping. Not that it's their job, but it's like I couldn't call the school and give them the message. So we just got it. And I learned from my older son about all the protections to put in place that I didn't with him. And so I'm a smarter, wiser parent.
What grade is your younger son?
He'll be a freshman in high school. So we made it through middle school.
Wow.
And no social media. But anyway, I digress.
Your iPhone can be set to do an update at night.
Yes.
You leave it plugged in and
if it's on Wi-Fi and plugged in,
Wi-Fi,
you can do it.
update automatically.
I've woken up and it hasn't done it, but it usually works.
Do it over time. They can't update 2 billion at once, so it's a phased update.
Some mitigation things that you can do also is annualcreditreport.com. You get a free credit report every year. You can go there. You can also go to each of those 3 reporting bureaus and maybe get Experian in January, and then TransUnion in May, and in the fall Equifax. So you're seeing your credit report regularly for free throughout the year, and it just gives you some peace of mind that okay, there's nothing suspicious on here. But you are entitled to that for free, one from each of the credit bureaus. So check that regularly to make sure that there isn't anything suspicious out there. And then identitytheft.gov, and again, this is in your handouts, and we'll get this out to you to report fraud if it does happen to you. So that is a great place to report it to the government so they know and to create a plan for recovery if possible. Next, and another video.
So many places.
Everybody needs to know your social security number. Here are 3 ways to keep your social security number out of the wrong hands. You might get a phone call from someone pretending to be from the Social Security Administration, asking you to confirm your number. Don't oblige. A Social Security representative doesn't need to call you for this information because they already have it. If you receive documents containing your Social Security number, you should either lock them in a safe place or shred them. If you don't have a shredder, many communities have places where you can drop off sensitive documents and they'll shred them for you. Don't be afraid to ask, do you really need my Social Security number? There are organizations that do require your number. Your employer is one of them, but others might use for it and they don't really need it, such as your doctor's office or the dentist. They can get that information from your insurance company. For more Social Security tips, go to aarp.org/Social Security.
It's just odd how many businesses ask for your Social Security. And so the best thing is to say, I'm not gonna do that, and what alternatives?
Who really needs to know yours?
And they will, and that's exactly right. You know, say, why do you need this? And you can absolutely refuse. Even the doctor, we even recommend, and I think AARP Central Texas works with the Senior Medicare Patrol to do presentations specifically on Medicare fraud. So you can talk to the folks at age about that, but you don't need to keep your Medicare card with you if you're on Medicare. Even if there's an emergency, the hospital is not going to turn you away. They can get the insurance information later, but your Medicare card used to be your Social Security, your Medicare number used to be your Social Security number, which opened up a ton of opportunities for fraud. All right, now, okay, we're there. So when scammers request payments, often gift cards are used. In a 2022 AARP survey, 1 in 3 adults said someone they know have been asked at some point to purchase a gift card seeking payment for some sort of financial obligation. So the utility company, the IRS, a business, they are never going to require a gift card as payment.
There's the latest scam is they're going into these stores and getting the gift cards and getting the information off of them, putting them back on the rack, and when you buy it, you think it's a $50 gift card, you get home and it's empty.
And that happens.
So be very careful of buying gift cards, period.
And even purchasing them on Amazon, like, well, it's not in the store. We have a relative in Colorado sent my son Amazon. It was a Visa gift card that she ordered through Amazon because they could just send it. And the packs, it had been sliced open and it had already been used. So at some point along the supply chain of it, from when it was ordered to our house, somebody had taken all of the information off of it. And I was like, you know, no big deal, like for us, not mad, but report it after. I was like, hey, just report it so they know. But yeah.
Some stores have now put the gift cards behind locks.
And so that's why
that's
people
better.
are stealing them, and they're making the packaging more secure. So next, and we're going to talk more about that. So just some forms of payment that are often used in scams. Credit and debit cards are always at the top of the list just because that's the most common form of payment in general. But they are largely protected against loss. When they use a credit or even debit cards are more protected than they used to be. Because the money, but the problem with the debit card is the money is still going for your account right away because it's connected to your bank account. So there's some more protection there, but it's still going to take a while to get that money back into your account. Where a credit card, it may have maxed out the credit card, but you still have your bank account. So even though debit cards have protection, you're still, it's unfortunate that it can put you in really dire straits until that money is put back. Payment apps or services, so like Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, that falls under credit and debit cards. Cryptocurrency, does anyone know anything about crypto? Okay, so we have a person who can talk about cryptocurrency. I can't, it's used a lot in scams. I don't want to say it's bad, cryptocurrency is bad because I don't know enough about it, but I do know that it is used in scams a lot. So,
well, it's more complicated to get it, so it's not something you're just going to do right off the bat. You've got to basically have it sitting in an account somewhere, probably, which most of us don't. The wire transfer I was going to comment on.
yeah.
If you go to the bank, I've had to do this several times. I use University Credit Union. And man, there's a whole questionnaire you have to answer for. They'll do a wire transfer. They don't make it easy. They want to make sure you're not being scammed. And banks, you can't make a deposit in somebody else's account even without answering questions. Which I thought, you always put money in somebody's account.
Right.
Okay?
We'll take it. But yeah, sometimes it can trigger, like, so the money, if you put some money in, why that's more, it's harder to do now because some people will put money into someone's account to check the account and see, like, oh, that's a hot account. And then, okay, I know this is the right account number, the money went through, now I'm gonna take money from that account, and then they make that hard. And then cash, which is smaller, but that's something that's coming to your door, saying, give me money because this is gonna happen, or sometimes it's, your house, you have a code violation, pay me to fix it. Things like that happen a lot, especially after, natural disasters. People will come by, oh, there's something wrong with your roof, give me money and I'll fix it. Things like that. Checks and money orders are at the bottom. So we'll go to the next slide. So why gift cards? Because they're untraceable. So if you're contacted about an urgent matter and are told, they'll say, well, the quickest way would be to give us a gift card. That's again likely a scam. Once you give them the gift card numbers, that money is gone and there's no recourse for getting it back, like a credit card or a debit card. And no one can track it down. So if they have your credit card information, you can at least see where they're using it. If it's a gift card, it is gone, and then they can move large amounts in a really small market. And we'll go quickly. I know I'm running out of time, so we'll go to the next slide.
Question over here.
Yeah, oh, sorry.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, I have two very, very intelligent friends who fall for the gift card scheme, like, it's all the way to doing it now. One, was in her early 20s, and one was like, we have a warrant for your arrest for a ticket. And the other one had impersonated her boss's boss at a new job. Yeah, so I mean, even if you are really sharp and on top of it and aware of these things, it's still possible to fall victim.
So yeah, gift card is a huge red flag. Next slide. I won't spend a lot of time here, but AARP, at our national office, we are working with different, we're working on consumer education, so telling people about it, media outreach, working with stores on in-store interventions and retail collaboration. So there are folks like AARP and the government that are trying to make gift cards at least safer, and that's why you see them behind glass, or they don't work until the person's at the counter. When you check them out, put the money, they don't put the money on it until you're purchasing them. All right, next one. And we can go one more slide. So I mentioned earlier, I wanted to talk about how we talk about this and maybe reframing some of our words. So when there's a violent crime, a person stolen, we often show empathy. And we're like, we say things like, I'm so sorry that happened to you, and we try to help them. But when someone is the victim of a financial crime like fraud, we use terms like, how could you fall for that? Or maybe even you have got only, and maybe we're not talking about them, but we're talking about someone else, and then they hear it, and it's this lexicon of, man, they had to be an idiot to do that. And so, and we call those criminals crafty and shrewd, and we say, man, they were really smart and really good at what they do, which they are, but we don't say that about the person who steals your purse or breaks into your home. We don't call them crafty or shrewd. We call them violent criminals. So, next slide. So again, and then victims, how they talk about themselves. I can't believe I fell for this. How could I be so stupid? Just this week, my oldest son, he downloaded an app. It then charged a subscription fee that he didn't know, he didn't think he was signing on for. He thought it was a one-time fee. Ended up, couldn't find the number to stop it, had to get a new bank card. But he came home from the bank and he's like, Mom, I'm so stupid. I should have known it was a shady app. And it was like, it's designed to confuse you. And you know, one, don't buy random apps off the app store, but also it was designed to confuse you. It probably did very much look like it was a one-time charge and not like it was a subscription. I was like, so you're not dumb, and you fixed it pretty quickly, and you didn't ask me to do it. You went to the bank yourself. You told me afterwards you're being a grown up, and that's good. But he came home and immediately was so dumb. And we have to also, when it happens to us, talk to ourselves more positively. Like they are really good at it, and they are, even things that are legitimate are often designed to take your money. The next slide. So why are they successful? Because they get us under the ether. I talked earlier, they get our emotions up. Oh, I'm gonna win the lottery, or oh my gosh, I'm gonna go to jail if I don't pay this. Those are things intended to have us make decisions from a heightened emotional state. And that logic brain turns off and the emotional brain turns on, and fear, excitement, a new love interest, all of those things make us not think through our decisions. So we always say, you know, 24 hours before you make any sort of financial decision. And whether it's, even if it's just buying a boat, give yourself 24 hours. And then maybe you'll see, okay, you know what, there were some red flags, or that didn't make sense. All right, next slide, please.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah, of course.
The scam, like where you get a call saying, you know, your granddaughter needs money because she's stuck in a foreign country or whatever. I gave my daughters a secret word, like green bananas. If they don't hear green bananas, they know it's a scam.
Yeah, that's a great idea, because they will know, and they know your grandkid's name because we post on Facebook. Congratulations on your graduation, Jonathan. We share these things, and that's okay, but it also, then they're like, oh, someone sees that, and they're like, okay, their grandson name's Jonathan, he just graduated from college, he's probably, maybe he's gonna go on a trip, I'm gonna, you know, and they try it, and it can be really successful. I always tell my kids, I like that, I was like, I will let you sit in jail. So if I get a call and you're in jail, whether it's true or not, you're gonna sit there for a day while I think about what to do next.
There's a new movie out about that exact thing called Selma.
We're doing a free screening later this month.
I bought tickets. I'm taking my mom to see it tomorrow night.
Yes, we're doing a free screening of Selma next week. So
she gets scammed for $9,000 and decides she's going to go after the thieves.
oh wow.
Where are you having your free screening?
The Regal on Stone Lake.
Okay.
So, Gateway, because there's Westgate and Gateway. Yeah, so yeah, we're doing, so you can go to aarp.org/events and you should be able to find it.
I do want to see it, yeah.
Yeah, so next slide. Again, sometimes we have an illusion of invincibility. I would never fall for that. It only happens to certain people. Sometimes like, oh, I'm not that old. Only an older person would that happen to, and they should have known better. And it can, as we talked about, demonstrated here, it can happen to anybody. It can happen to an executive. It can happen to just a regular person. It can happen to a 20-year-old college student. These are just very common. Next slide. And so what if, you know, if it does happen to our friend, we said it's not your fault. Fraud is a crime. I'm sorry you had to do this. Let's try to find some resources to help you. And then, instead of, I can't believe you got duped, it's not your fault. How could you fall for that? We can say they're very good at what they do. You were a victim of a crime, and just show more empathy and empower victim, because what this does is people report it. And if there's shame around it, they don't report it. And then we can't see what the trends are, and we never, you know, and a lot of times the culprit is not in this country. It may be really hard to actually do anything about them. But we need to know, the government needs to know, the FBI, all these different entities, so we can start sharing what is happening out in the world. So again, these outcomes of having less shame and more empathy means more reporting. Family relationships are protected, generational wealth is protected, because we're actually getting folks to find resources and not just accept it. Police will take it seriously. Prosecutors will take more cases if they're seeing this as a common occurrence. Policymakers act, just like securing gift cards better. That comes from people reporting and saying, hey, this is a real problem. And then billions of dollars stay in our economy, because when it goes overseas, that's money that's not circulating here. Next slide. And I know I have 2 minutes, but it's been really interactive. Are y'all gonna kick me out or? So things that you can do, again, you can go to the next slide. Avoid making a financial decision in that heightened emotional state. Give yourself 24 hours before you do anything. You can do your research. There are a lot of charity scams. So you can go to charitynavigator.org or give.org and check out the charity. Make sure it is a legitimate charity. And maybe it is a legitimate charity, but only 5 cents of every dollar you give is going towards its intended purpose. So you can find out that there and then make a decision about who you want to give your money to.
An example is Wounded Warriors. 85% of theirs is overhead.
And so that's the thing, you're giving money. You want to know that that money is going to the intended purpose and not just to pay an executive salaries, and they're entitled to a paycheck like anyone else. They're doing good work, but you should also understand and know. Yes.
The develop a refusal script is really good.
Yeah.
And my best one is Lisa contacted me about 6 or 8 months ago and said, if you'll just pay off your account, it's about $500, one much. We're going to give you a $3,000 bonus. So I got right on that one. And I was filling it out and I said, Stu, would you mind looking at this? And then we decided this is not a good deal, but it was so polished. It was really well done.
Right. Remember, from that refusal script, no is a complete sentence. You don't need to explain yourself. Just no, or just hang up the phone if it's over the phone, or just delete the email. Screen phone calls, watch out for fake emails. I don't answer any call that I don't know. They'll leave a message. And then I can decide if I want to return the call.
Some of them will call back. A better thing than not answering is to go to airplane mode, because then what they see is call failed. And so they think it's not a valid number.
They'll
and wait 5 minutes, then take it out of airplane mode again.
Oh, that's really smart, because they'll keep, because even if it goes to voicemail, they know it's a real number
right
at that point. And they'll keep calling. And there are different levels of, it won't even ring if you have your, there's certain functions on your phone that if it doesn't recognize the number, it won't ring.
If it's not in your contacts, for instance.
If it's not in your contacts. Sometimes that's a pain because you're expecting a call from someone and then you're like, oh, and you would have answered because you knew they were going to call and then it sends it straight to voicemail. But that is an option if you're getting a lot of those calls. Again, the fake emails, see who the from is, look for, suspicious wording in the message and typos. And then again, the refusal script. No, thank you. If you're generous. So again, protect your personal information, have those multiple passwords. We talked about a lot of ways to keep our passwords safe and secure. Shred sensitive information. Go ahead.
That's not the kind of shredder you want.
Yeah.
You want one that does the cross cut. Yeah. You get the little pieces, not that type.
But we do 2 free shredding events a year, and then the city does free shredding events. There are lots of free shredding events that take place that you can watch it being dumped into the truck and shredded on site. We do one usually in late April, early May after tax season, and we'll do another one in the fall. We partner with the Better Business Bureau on 2 free shred events a year. But again, you can find those 2 if you don't have a personal shredder. They jam up, and I don't like them, but they're still better. And like you said, the crosshairs, they're the ones that, so you're getting like confetti, not just strips. Again, monitor your bills and your financial accounts, check them regularly. You can get a fraud alert for your credit reports if it's not frozen. So if something does open, someone opens a credit card, you'll get an alert. Hey, did you open this credit card? And then again, watch your credit report. Next slide. If you have, keep your operating systems up to date, antivirus software current. Now, antivirus is a big scam. You'll get pop-ups that say, hey, you detected a virus on your computer. Do not click those. And so while antivirus software is very helpful, it is also, if you don't have that antivirus software on your computer, you're not going to get a pop-up from them saying you had a virus has been detected. Again, keep your passwords private, use unique passwords. consider a password manager, but again, we talked about different alternatives to that. Next slide.
One of the popular antivirus is Kaspersky, and that is a Russian product.
So never
Don't use Kaspersky. It was very popular for a while.
Yeah, I've heard of it, but all right, next. And so AARP has a lot of resources online, aarp.org/fraud watch network, and we just share information like what are some common scams. We have a map that you can report and see what's happening in your area. Next slide. And then we have, and you can at fraudwatchnetwork.org. You can find our phone number and you can find support, but we do have a phone number that you can call. It's not on here, it's at the website. And you can talk to somebody. You get up to an hour for free of helping you navigate how to deal with fraud if you've been the victim. So where do you need to report it? Who do you need to call? Things like that. So, and it's also a safe place. Maybe you don't want to tell your spouse, or you should probably definitely tell your spouse, but your grandchildren, because you are like, oh, I can't believe this happened. It's someone that can talk you through the process, so you don't have to get someone who doesn't need to know involved if you feel like they're not going to be helpful. You should probably tell yourself. But that's what I have, and I appreciate all of the energy in the room and sharing what you all know and your own tips and tricks. Very important. So tell a friend, share what you know with somebody. You know, a lot of you have a lot of great information. Don't gatekeep that. Let folks know, hey, did you know this is happening? Did you know Kaspersky is fraudulent? Don't get that. The more we talk about this, the more we can help other people. So
I just want to make sure and see if anybody on Zoom has any questions. We can open it up to them. Does anybody want to ask any questions? No, not seeing anything. All right.
Yes, yeah.
Oh,
yes.
we do.
No, this is Carol, and I wanted to say that I worked for the Department of Insurance for 30 years, and at the end, we were very busy dealing with various kinds of fraud, and there was actually a fraud unit in the Department of Insurance, and we worked with the Attorney General's office that also had a fraud unit, and they were busy. There was a lot of Medicare fraud. There were some very big cases that went through. Lots of insurance companies had to pay a lot of money. And I just thought you all should know that that's another resource.
And we'll usually do a telephone call with the Attorney General's office once a year, and that's we dial out to our members, and we'll have him on so folks can ask questions. So at aarp.org/Texas, you can see those kind of events too. But yeah, the Department of Insurance, Medicare, the Attorney General, your local APD, all can have fraud resources. So please report.
Well,
thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you compost, you can put your shredded stuff in your compost.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Nobody's gonna want to go